Hey there, welcome to another AAA Ask Alyssa Anything session where I'm responding to your questions about the book publishing industry and writing a better story. I love these sessions because they get me to talk about topics that I might not have known you were interested in or otherwise addressed. So thank you to everyone who is leaving me questions and keep them coming. First things first, if you haven't subscribed to this amazing community already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button because it really helps my videos reach more viewers. And in the description below, go ahead and check out my free resource I created for my YouTube community. It's called my Story Self-Assessment Worksheet, and it is a short, easy quiz designed to help you figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are in your current draft. I know how hard that can be, especially when you are in the thick of it and unable to see the forest from the trees. Downloading that is going to opt you in to my newsletter where I publish exclusive interviews with publishing industry professionals and published authors. They share amazing tips and personal experiences, so you don't want to miss out on all of those insights. If you want to go straight to the newsletter, the link is also in the description. So let's dive into the first question today. Hi Alyssa, I've been working on a YA fantasy and sent out my first round of queries a couple months ago. About half of the agents sent a rejection and the other half haven't replied. As I'm getting ready to send out my second round, I'm wondering how much you would suggest revising the query letter and first 10 pages. After not getting any requests for a full, it's hard to know how much I should change in my query letter or if it's too early in the querying process to make revisions. Any guidance would be appreciated. It can be so hard to figure out what is potentially not resonating with agents in your submission package, whether that is your query letter, your sample pages, or your synopsis. So what do you do if you are a querying author and you are only getting ghosted or rejections? First things first, I want you to look at the hard numbers of rejections and queries that you have sent out. If you have sent out 10 queries, say, in your batch, and 5 of them haven't responded and 5 of them are rejections, I really wouldn't sweat it. Querying is ultimately a numbers game, and many authors end up querying 50 or even close to 100 agents before signing with one of them. Now, if you have queried, say, 30 agents and no one has requested the full manuscript and they are all rejections, then that might be a time in which you turn to your query letter and your sample pages to make sure they are as strong as possible. If the agents are giving you form rejections and aren't giving you specific feedback, it can be hard to know if it is your pitch that isn't resonating or if it is the sample pages. Because if the agent is intrigued by the pitch and sample pages, they will of course request the full manuscript, and then you can determine that maybe something is wrong with your manuscript later on after the first 10 pages if it results in a rejection from there. It can frankly be so difficult for you to see your query and your sample pages objectively, so if you have the ability to get some kind of feedback on it, I would strongly encourage you to do so. Also make sure that the stakes of the story are crystal clear in both the pitch you present in the query letter and in those first 10 pages, because that's what's going to make an agent invested in the story and ultimately want to keep reading. If it's just a nice scene that is potentially well written, but there's no stakes, there's no propulsive quality, there's no sense of suspense or intrigue, then it is likely that they're not going to be interested in the story. So I would say a lot of querying comes down to stakes. But again, only revisit your query package if you've sent out a substantial amount of queries, all to no response or rejections. If it's just a few, just keep going first. Here's another question about querying. Hey Alyssa, how important is it to personalize the beginning of a query letter? I've heard some agents say that it seems presumptuous and it can actually hurt an author's chances if the wording isn't right. Could you expound on this? So I'll give you my perspective from someone whose job it was to review query letters and determine if I wanted to pass them along to the agents for review. The rule of thumb with a personalization in a query letter is do it right and do it well, or don't do it at all. The same goes for comparable titles, by the way. A good personalization line can certainly catch the agent's attention and bolster your credibility as an author because it shows that you have researched them and you understand how you might fit into their list. But a bad or poor personalization line is not really gonna add anything to your query. I don't agree that a bad personalization line is going to necessarily hurt your chances. It's just likely not going to do anything for you, one way or another. So what's a good personalization line and what's a bad personalization line? A good personalization line calls out a specific author or book that agent has worked on. So you can say something like, I saw you represented X book and hope you'll be interested in my book, which is also X genre, right? That draws a connection between what they have represented prior and what your story is and shows them why they might be interested. Now, a bad personalization line, which I see all the time when I am critiquing query letters, is something like, I see you represent historical fiction and wanted to share my historical novel, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't say really anything to the agent. It is hardly a personalization at all, because the agent, of course, already knows they represent that genre, so you calling it out just is not adding anything to the query. If you, for some reason, can't mention any author or any book that the agent has represented, then just cut out the personalization and start your query with, I'm seeking representation for blah, blah, blah. Here's another question. What if more than one agent accepts your query and is interested in taking it further? That's an amazing position to be in as an author. And what you want to do is thoroughly interview and vet all of your potential literary agents. Don't just go with the first person who expressed interest in representing you, because they may or may not be the actual best suited agent for you. You want to ask them questions about their communication style. How editorially inclined are they? How much work do they think needs to be done with this manuscript before it's ready to go out to publishers? In fact, what publishers do they think could be a good match for that book? All of these questions are going to help you get a sense of how you and that agent are going to work together and what they are going to bring to the table. Because remember, you are ultimately paying them in the form of their commission to get you the best book deal possible and retain your vision for the story. If an agent is reluctant to answer those questions or hop on the phone with you or even have a formal meeting with you, then that is a huge red flag. You absolutely should speak to all literary agents who express interest in you and make your decision from that point. We have time for one more question today. Hi Alyssa, what is a 2-book deal and what are its pros and cons? I don't think I've ever answered this question before, so this is a really interesting topic to bring up. You will see in the publishing industry's database, Publishers Marketplace, listings about an author signing a 2-book deal or even a 3-book or 4-book deal. What this means is that the publisher has not only purchased the rights to publish one singular book, but multiple. And in some cases, they might not even know what that next book is, but they have already bet on the fact that this author is going to be a good investment and profitable for them, so they want to go ahead and snatch up their future books as well. Many established authors are going to have 2, 3, 4 book deals with publishers because the publisher knows how those books performs and wants to lock them in. As an author, there are definitely pros to having a multi-book deal. It means you and your agent are not going to have to shop around your next manuscript and find a new publisher when the time comes. You already have that publisher locked in. And it helps you establish a strong editorial relationship with that publisher, which can be really beneficial for a long-term career. The potential downside of a 2-book, 3-book, 4-book deal is that is the price that you're getting, right? You know upfront how much they're going to pay you for all the work you have yet to do. And say that the first book that you published does extraordinarily well, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to come back to the table and say, well, now pay me more for the second book because the first one did so well. You're kind of locked into that price from the beginning. If you are getting an offer for multiple books from a publishing house, your agent is definitely going to be a huge resource and help for you in determining whether that's the best contract for you. That's all we had time for today. If you have a question for me about publishing or writing or anything in between, drop it in the comments here and it will be added to my queue. Don't forget to hit that like button if you are enjoying these sessions, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and grab your free story self-assessment worksheet and check out my newsletter in the description below. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.